Yeah, excited. Playing a really good Minnesota team that's on a long bowl win streak. I think I read eight straight bowl games they've won. They're big and physical, like you'd expect. I think they're particularly salty defensively. I think we're still in the early stages just because we hadn't seen them at all of putting together game plans and kind of getting a feel for their personnel. But I think it's going to be a great challenge. We're very excited to go to this game. Really a first-class bowl game. Really set up to be two Power 5 teams. So we're thankful we got this opportunity. And again, we'll really be putting the challenge out. We need to have a great turnout from our fans, from our alums, whether they're people in Albuquerque who are going to make the drive over 6 hours. You can, celebrate Christmas Eve, and then drive over Christmas afternoon. I think you could even get up early and drive game day on the 26th to get over there. A lot of direct flights between here and Phoenix as well. But we need everybody to turn out. We got to have a great crowd. Again, I'm calling for 10,000 Lobos to be in the stands for this game, which I think would be tremendous. And, you kind of got a chance to, I know there's a lot of people in, probably who are fans who'd love to see us still in conferences with some of the teams we've been in the past, the TCUs and the Utahs and BYU. And, these are these moments where you can do it. And football drives the bus and a lot of that stuff. Again, if basketball alone was important, Gonzaga would be in the Big 12 or something, but they're not. So I think this is a big opportunity for our fan base, and I think they're really going to step up like they have all year. And let's get a great crowd there to support this team and our quest to try to win our 10th game for only the second time in school history.
You said yesterday that you'd be leaning on some of your assistants and guys on staff that had done the kind of bowl planning and the schedule and all that. Have you guys locked in on a schedule yet, and what does it maybe look like at this point?
Yeah, we're going to practice this week twice on Tuesday, Thursday. We're going to lift twice this week, so it's finals week. So we want to be respectful, make sure guys finish up strong with that. You're going to give the guys, once they're done with school, starting Friday, they can get out of town for a few days and then commence back, I believe, the 17th. I don't have the schedule right in front of me. And then practice the 18th, have a little prep, for a few days. Then we'll have probably our game week physical practices, like our normal Tuesday, Wednesday practice would be on Sunday and Monday for this game. And then we would travel Tuesday, to head out there to the game.
Of course, early signing period was last week. A bigger class for you guys. I think just around 30 guys, if not exactly that. What kind of, what can you kind of tell us about this class and how it kind of turned out from your purview?
Yeah, we wanted to try to reset to being more high school based. Last year we had to go very heavy transfer in the transition year and just trying to get the equilibrium with the guys we'd lost. We're still looking to add, quality transfers, but we wanted to have a majority of the guys be high school players, and I think we were able to get off to a really good start that way. Really excited about Hayes Baum out of Cibola in town, who's a great linebacker, physical. Very excited about Cade Mitchell, the quarterback out of Oregon. He's a guy who's going to be an early enrollee and should be able to see what he can do in January. Very excited about the line of scrimmage. Took a lot of offensive linemen. Took some D linemen as well. That I think the best way to get those guys is to grow them over time and develop them that way. Gabe Wilson, our back out of Texas, is a very good player. Getting a D lineman, Palmer out of Allen High School, a great high school in Dallas, was a good get. Got a couple of guys out of Chicago with Denzel and Dorian Patterson to try to capitalize on our connections there, and also with Northern Illinois coming into the league next year, added some good corners as well. A place where we're losing some guys who played a lot of football for us. John Johnson had such a good year as a senior, so a lot of guys, big class, but happy with where we're at, and now. That will really be the scholarship. We'll have a few other guys that we announced that, non-scholarship guys that we're just finishing up getting in school and things, but that'll probably be the gist of our scholarship guys. Then we'll focus our attentions in January to the portal.
And you mentioned Hayes Baum. I mean, I think I saw him at most of these home games out here, getting more and more excited. How important was it to get these guys to come and see the product you guys are putting on the field?
Yeah, and, truth be told, a lot of these guys committed to us, before the season started. So majority of them did. So I think some of them probably pushed them over the edge, the kind of year we were having. But Hayes just got awarded the defensive player of the year in the state. And it's great to have guys like that who have a lot of familiarity with the program and are able to come to a lot of games through high school. And that's why we always want to start our efforts at home.
And then the tight ends, I believe both of them are over 6'5". Max Leeper is 6'7", verified. What was the strategy getting two of these skyscrapers at that position?
They're two really good players. Max, he's really long. He's skinny, so he'll have to develop over time. But good ball skills, showed some aggression, blocking, usually on the perimeter and playing defense. And then our other defensive end from St. Bonaventure there in California, he's a really good athlete. I was really impressed with him at a camp we saw him at back in June, Walter Moore, and then he ended up committing to somebody else over the summer. Then we were able to get him up for a game day visit. He really enjoyed it, and I think those guys are two really good prospects at a position that we needed to grow some younger guys.
Unique venue the game is going to be played in. It's another one in a long list of unique venues your team has had a chance to play at, from Big House all the way through Air Force Academy, Boise, UNLV.
Yeah, now a Major League Baseball stadium. And
that has one of the most historic World Series wins ever.
See, I'm not a huge baseball historian. Give me the history, then
look
I'll
that
tell
one
the
up.
team.
Yeah,
What was it? What year was it?
2001,
Okay.
and the Diamondbacks, huge underdogs against the Yankees, win Game 7 in the bottom of the ninth. You got to
get a little history of that.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, the venue itself, playing in a baseball stadium, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's unique. It's different. I heard they bring in grass, I think, just for this game, if I was correct. They play on artificial usually, but I'm excited. I know this. I actually found out, I didn't realize this, but this bowl used to be played in Tucson, and it was the Copper Bowl. That was actually my first bowl game as a player, was in 1996. Went to the Copper Bowl. I think New Mexico might have went the next year or something in like 97. But now it's been in Phoenix for quite a while, and I think it's owned by the same people who put on the Fiesta Bowl, and they do a great job, and they're very well known for how the events they put on and things. So for a first class game, and again, I feel very honored and blessed that we got this opportunity.
Coach, I heard you saying yesterday, I know you guys were expecting the New Mexico Bowl, but you found out kind of in the morning that you're going to go to the Rate Bowl. Just when the players found out, when you delivered that news, how special was that moment, and how just the excitement on their faces?
It was awesome, and we really didn't pick our banquet time based on that, but it ended up working out pretty great. I mean, I really built that off of just the day before finals to have it early enough to have time to study. But I think that ended up being a kind of a neat thing to tell the whole team there with everybody together. And they were very excited. And, I think we were going to be excited to go to any bowl game. But, they had dealt with some disappointment, in not going to the conference championship game. That was tough. And then, I think there was excitement playing in the New Mexico Bowl, but, it looked like the opponent that we were going to play, North Texas is coming to play San Diego State. I don't think they were going to come to play us on our home field. So, that was kind of the struggle, is just trying to arrange the game with giving us a real quality opponent. And, again, I was hoping to really have an opponent, which I think we got, that will give us credit nationally. And if you can beat them and, maybe give you a chance to move up in the rankings and things like that. So I was fortunate how it all came together. I think it helped us having some of those schools opt out to give us an opportunity. But one man's trash is another's treasure. We're very excited for this opportunity.
And Coach, I know you've talked about it in the past about this being the year of first, and you guys have accomplished so much. I know you still got a game ahead, but have you had time to kind of reflect? And I know you've also said in the past you expected these great things, but not so quick. Did you know, like now reflecting a little bit, when this team was like going to be special? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think when you're in the middle of it, it's sometimes tough to know exactly when. I think certainly beating UCLA was a good sign, but then we beat UCLA, sell out against New Mexico State, and we lose our first two conference games. So that might question it a little bit, but I think certainly that win at Vegas was a big win to go on the road and beat a team who played in the conference championship game. Surely this last game, beating a team who was in the driver's seat coming into it. I think all those were steps along the way. And again, I'm very like I said, it's kind of a weird time and a weird setting the way FBS football is set up, because you have this little time between your regular season and your bowl game where you do want to reflect and be proud of what we've accomplished, but there's still more to accomplish. It's not like it's completely over. So we got to stay hungry and have great preparation through this and go play our best football one more time.
Coach, for the fans that were wanting for you guys to stay here, to be in the New Mexico Bowl, what message do you have for them playing in the Rate Bowl now?
Yeah, it's just, trying to have things work out and for the experience of our players and things. And again, if we ended up playing a group of 5 team that ended up being 6-6, I just didn't think that would be a great reward for our players for the season we've had. So I love the New Mexico Bowl. I think Jeff Symbieta does a great job with it. I hope that we are able to play in that game in the future. There's probably some things that I didn't anticipate that came up this year. Again, I didn't anticipate people thinking, well, heck, New Mexico is such a tough place to play that we would never want to play there in front of their fans. But that's a credit to our fans because they felt that the teams were very hesitant to come play us here, especially the teams that had good years and had a little bit more leverage. And also, really the Rate Bowl had the second choice out of the conference. So they really had a choice of who they were going to take before it got to the New Mexico Bowl's pick. And, you probably wouldn't have foresaw us, even though I saw us going to a bowl game, I didn't necessarily foresee that we would be the second pick out of 7 bowl eligible teams. So that's a credit to not only our team, but I think our fans and how they've supported us. And, that might be your Christmas present this year. Someone, getting you a hotel room or getting you a plane ticket to come over to Phoenix instead of staying here. And, the good thing is you can get back and watch the New Mexico Bowl the next day if you want. So the game's early enough on the 26th. So we're excited for this opportunity, and I'm sure there's some fans who would have came if the game was here but couldn't go. It's there, and that's fine. You root us on TV, and then make sure you get your season tickets for next year.
It's not through Christmas like it has been, but you talk a little bit about looking towards the portal and all that. Do you kind of have like a portal wish list in terms of positions you guys would like to add a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more experience at this point?
Yeah, some of it's fluid, but some of it is you kind of know as well. You look at D end where you lose Carhu and Keyshawn. That's definitely an area with edge rushers that we're looking to add somebody. I think corner John Johnson was such a good player, and I just think we have to get our numbers up at corner anyway. There were some times this year where we got a little thin when we had an injury at corner. Those come to mind, right away. I think. We'll have 4 starters back, hopefully on the offensive line. I think all the stuff, if you end up losing guys to the portal, may change your numbers. I think we need a few more tackle bodies in the program, maybe some older guys, because, you look at like Malik this year, playing tackle was a little bit more of an inside guard center body type. So those are ones that kind of, come to the top of my head of things we have to look at. Luke, Druzwicki did such a great job kicking field goals this year. I do think but between guys in the program with Grant Glasgow and Christian, that one of those guys could certainly be our field goal kicker next year, but wouldn't mind bringing in another guy to compete with those guys as well.
And then I think Carter tweeted out like a week ago that he might maybe be getting another year of eligibility. What's that kind of looking like with guys in the program who might be able to get another year of eligibility? And do you have any kind of hard and fast answers on that at this point?
Yeah, a guy like Carr who is really going to take legal intervention. He had a year at an NAIA school, which like guys like Keyshawn James Newby got a year this year because of playing a year or 2 years at an NAIA school. So I'm not sure how that's going to sort out, but he's in that case. And we got a few guys who went to junior college like James Lobstein, David Murphy's into that, Bear Levels. If those guys are right now guys we're not planning on having back, but I think if they were able to, through legal action gain another year, we would welcome back.
Coach, right now Mensah's listed as defensive back. Do you kind of envision him as a nickel, just kind of trying him a couple different spots? Yeah,
probably more of a safety or a nickel for us. He's got pretty good coverage skills as well. Probably not a true corner, but probably could play some nickel as well.
And then Gabe Wilson just seems like the tip, like a UNM Lobo running back. What did you see from him that stood out? Yeah,
he's a physical, hard runner. From a good program. Their team went deep into the playoffs in Texas, and he's a strong runner. He has good speed. He's physical. He's a pretty complete back, and running back's one of those spots where you're only really looking to take one guy. You're taking one back, we're taking one quarterback. So I think at those spots where you're only taking one, you want to be really, really picky. Make sure you got the right one, and I'm pretty confident we got the right one with Gabe.
And then, when you're making these offers, you're changing kids' lives. Is there any specific moment that sticks out during this period of the guys who have signed of like, oh, this is pretty sweet. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think a guy like, Hayes Baum sticks out, because he's a guy who grew up in this area, and I believe we were his first Division I offer when we offered him, being fairly excited. A couple of our O-linemen from Arizona, we offered at our camp, and then they committed right away. Brandon Hampton was a corner who, that we committed him on a game day visit, and he committed right away right after we offered him. So I think those are, pretty special. And, again, you want guys who want to be here. So I think guys who jump in quickly, that's usually a good sign that, hey, they're committed and they want to be a part of this, what we're building here.
Coach, I know you said the team's excited and, to finish off with 10 wins, but I'm just curious, what is your main message to the team coming into this game? Do you have like a whiteboard saying, like, what are you really trying to get across the team?
But just, taking advantage of our opportunity, playing, I hope that you look at this bowl game that, this bowl game isn't lessened by a group of 14 or a group of 5 team being in there. We need to play up at the level of the game we're in and play like we're a Big 12 team in this game. And, it's another measuring stick game, getting, playing teams from bigger conferences that get multiple bids in the CFP. I think that earns respect. And I think for a lot of our individual players, especially guys who want to play pro football, this is a great opportunity to show that they can, compete with, the highest level of college football. So getting 10 wins, I think, is a big part of it too. Just, trying to leave a legacy. Our team has done a great job, I think, of establishing a legacy already with what we had. I guess that's one benefit of not being in the New Mexico Bowl is we can't screw up being undefeated at home. Now we're undefeated at home forever. That was in the back of my mind that we're celebrating that. You could have one more game at home. But, now we'll be undefeated at home and 6-0 forever at home. But, this is obviously a great challenge, but a great opportunity getting to play our third Big Ten team. And we split with them. If you could end up saying you won 2 out of 3 against the Big Ten, I think that's a heck of an accomplishment. But that's going to be a great challenge.
Coach, what was your formula into having such a successful season and team, and are you adjusting it at all going into next season?
No, I think a big part of it was being shrewd in our evaluations. Taking the right guys who fit here and that fit into our schemes and that we can develop. Doing a really good job of working on relationships to bring everyone together and get guys on the same page and get them interconnected in a quick period of time. I think in some ways that'll be a little easier this year because we'll have more returning players that way. And, doing a great job with our staff, getting on the same page. And, again, there might be tweaks with what we're doing every year, with using our players the best way. But I think it's important. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but you got to make sure everyone's on the same page and we're teaching things in complementary matters so it all fits together. So not a major change to our formula of how we're building the team, just little tweaks.
Coach, it's different from the other trips that you've made this season. Obviously, it's not a day in, one night, play a game, come home. There's going to be a lot of stuff surrounding the game. It's going to be fun, and it's a great reward for your team. You want to keep them focused and have a great performance, on the 26th. How do you balance that? You've been in it, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I think you got to be in the moment, when it's time to focus on football, whether we're in a meeting or a practice. And we'll have a lot of our practice work done before we even get to the bowl site. But when it's time to focus on meetings or practice, we got to focus. Okay, when it's time to go to an event and have a lot of fun and hang out with your teammates and build lasting memories, then we got to focus on that. So it's really just being in the moment for what we have to get done. And but enjoy this. This is a great experience. I think bowl games are a reward for a great season, and I want them to have a lot of fun, as part of this trip.
Is Mitchell the only early enrollee out of all the guys that committed?
No, we have a few more.
Who are the others?
Do you have a list of anything about guys who signed? Yeah, I probably won't be able to give you all those off the top of my head.
Okay.
I can maybe have Frank get them to you and email them to you or something. Or
I don't know if I saw him at the banquet yesterday. Is Richard back with the team?
Not yet. Hope to get him back for the bowl game, but not back yet.
Okay. Are you expecting to get Abe back for this game as well too?
Not sure. Still up in the air. He's not 100% cleared yet. Making progress, but not 100% cleared.
And you had previously said that Buckley, the hope was going to have him on a trajectory to get back for a bowl game. Is that still kind of looking like the case?
I think we're still optimistic. Again, he's not fully cleared either, but I think he's certainly got a solid chance to get back for it.
And then you kind of touched a little bit on Minnesota in the opening statement, a little bit, big, their physicality, and salty on defense as well. What are some of the other kind of things that stand out to you about them?
The quarterback has done a solid job. He's 16-6, so he's protected the football pretty well. They win the turnover battle. They've been good at home, which obviously doesn't help you. They're very low penalties. They only have 40 penalties on the season. We have 70, so they're that fits. They've been good on red zone defense this year. I think on offense, kind of similar to us, they spread the ball around. They don't really have a 1,000-yard rusher or receiver. They use some different guys there. Their tight end is a solid player. Jamison Gears, I remember him coming out of high school. He was, a good athlete, and he was honorable mention. Their two inside backers or the two inside leading tacklers, they do a good job. Smith, didn't get all conference, but he had 10.5 sacks. I mean, that's pretty, impressive. So, good team, sound on special teams. I haven't even got a chance to watch special teams yet, but Coach DePrato said they're sound and do a solid job. Okay.
It's a touch screen.
Okay, good. Mid-year enrollees. Nick Barber is going to be mid-year. Hayes Baum is going to be mid-year. The junior college transfers, Cheeves mid-year.
Nice, right?
That's nice. DJ Darling's going to be mid-year. Junior college transfer Fetchko is mid-year. Max Leeper is mid-year. Good to get him around the nutrition. Cade Mitchell's mid-year. AJ Robinson and Trenton Rocker, two transfers, are mid-year. Albert, the transfer, is mid-year. So those are our mid-year guys.
A lot of mid-year guys. Thank you, Frank. We talked a little bit about last week too, kind of like increasing the staff salary pool and like making sure getting guys paid and getting guys raises and all that as well. Have you had discussions about guys on staff about them maybe looking at different opportunities at this point, and are you anticipating any kind of staff changes at this point?
Not at this point. I basically just told their staff, keep me in the loop if something comes up. A few guys have had things that have been on the radar and things, and want to support our staff if they have great opportunities, but. I also think we're building something pretty special here, so I want to make sure they're being smart and they're not, going into something that, last year a guy on our staff was looking at a job at Virginia Tech before he accepted our jobb, and that was it ended up not working out, but I think it's probably good how it didn't work out, how things ended up going there. So, and again, we got to mesh it all together. I think, with trying to retain players, trying to retain coaches, and trying to find the right fit and formula. So no changes that I'm aware of, right now, but there certainly could be, and, certainly want to help guys if they have a great opportunity. Especially I don't think it would make sense to take any other group of 5 opportunities, but if guys have a chance to go to a Power 4 level, go to the NFL or something, I think that certainly is something you got to at least investigate and look at and entertain.
You mentioned meshing too, like kind of the timeline of not only preparing for the bowl, but also player retention and keeping guys out of the portal and all that as well. What does that kind of look like at this point in terms of talking to guys about hey, we want to keep you here, but
yeah, we're in the process of having those conversations. I had quite a few meetings last week and Thursday and Friday. Today, just with everything going on in the bowl and trying to look through film. I have not, but I'll get back to meeting with some guys tomorrow and trying to find out. Who we can keep here, and I'm hoping we're able to retain quite a few of our guys. We have a lot of, I say a lot of guys. We have some guys who started to already, sign their rev share contracts for next year and things. And I think we're going to try to do a great job with our creative team and Casey Byers, our associate AD, and trying to, highlight and celebrate those guys who are, showing their loyalty to staying here and being a part of what we're building here. But that's kind of a dual priority right now as we're getting through bowl prep. And, I definitely want to get through all those meetings, and I will get through all those meetings before the guys have their little break, that way they can go sit home and talk with family and things like that. And, figure out what's the best path for them going forward. And these are tough decisions, for guys to make when they're, 19, 20, 21 years old and things. And, we try to give them guidance and experience as they can, but ultimately it's their life and they're living it, and they have to make those decisions. So, I hopefully will be able to retain a lot of these guys, but I also know there's a lot of. If we do have openings, we'll probably have more guys who are interested in us at this point than there were last year. So.
We've heard a lot of like coaches and kind of media figures talk about how like the calendar is kind of like broken, particularly like in the last couple weeks, like the Kiffin ordeal and all that as well. Do you feel this is kind of like a flawed calendar right now, or do you not have issues with it in the way that other coaches do?
I'm, I kind of have the view of I try to spend too much time worried about stuff that I don't have full control over. Now, I think some of the real influential. That was interesting for me last year, sitting in the head coaching meetings for FBS coaches for the first time in January. And you kind of saw quickly who the most influential guys are. And, Kirby Smart was very adamant that we had to have a portal window in early January. And sure enough, we got a portal window in early January. Kirby was able to get that done. So I don't think I have quite the pull or influence of what he has right now. So it's not ideal. Again, I think the NFL, which runs it as a pure business entity, has it pretty thought out, but we also have to deal with academic calendars, and none of the academic calendars, mesh. Some schools are on quarters, some are on semesters, different start dates. I do think our start date is good. We don't start classes till January 20th, which gives us a lot of time in January to sort through the portal, a lot more so than someone who's January 6th. Now, the negative side of that is, if your kids are starting classes on, January 6th, you're around them, you're probably feeling like, all right, they're starting already this semester. They're into it, where, the whole time the portal's open, our kids will be on an academic break. So they, you're not going to see them every day and things like that. So I think there's pros and cons either way to when your calendar starts and things like that. But it's it's a little goofy, and it's a shame shame that you had to come to that a coach would leave his team before the season's through. I mean, I think that would be a tough pill for me to swallow personally as a coach, to not see a season through, especially when you're top 10 team in the playoff and things. But everyone's got to make their own decisions, and we have to deal with the system as it is. We have a lot of things. We have the high school recruiting signing day, before transfer portal, which is kind of the opposite of the NFL. They do all their free agent first and then have the draft. I don't know. I do think, and I was always a proponent of the early signing day, but I think there may be, more sense now as the transfer portal and NILs come along. Maybe it would make sense to go back to February. I know the coaches convention for the AFCA, the American Football Coach Association, is finally going to move, because it's been a terrible time kind of in earlier January, and now they're finally going to fix that in 27 and go to February. So it's after the late signing day and after semesters have started, which I think is a positive change. But it's a little disjointed how everything works together.
Coach, it's the holiday season. Any thoughts on Biscochitos, the state's cookie?
I had my first Biscochito. I'm glad you said it, because I wouldn't have been able to pull that term out again, at the athletic department Christmas party last Tuesday. And they were very cinnamony and very good. So I'm a fan. I wouldn't say like it's my top flavor, but I didn't mind the Biscochito. Did I say it right?
Biscochito.
Biscochito.
Or Rob. So
A follow-up, Coach. No. Back to the portal. If memory serves, previous conversations about this, you'd said that you felt like having one portal window would be a good thing.
Yes.
And I think what I just heard is that you think the ideal time would be in February. I know that there's difficulties with the academic calendar and things like that, but am I accurate?
Yeah, it was funny. The Big Ten coaches and the SEC coaches kind of had a big disagreement. The Big Ten wanted it later. They wanted the portal window to be after all the games are done. I think they have it down now to the, I think there'll be 4 teams left playing or something when the portal opens. But, it's still tricky. If you're, say you're a backup at one of the teams that plays in the national championship, which I think is January 19th, if you want to be a good teammate and stick with your team throughout the semester, and throughout the game. I mean, there are going to be some limits on which schools you can get into and things like that afterwards. I think part of the reason coaches pushed back on that is that you'd really have to rethink the whole thing. Change spring ball. You wouldn't have as many guys on your roster for spring ball. You'd probably have to copy more of the NFL's, OTA model where they do a lot of theirs in, May and June. I wasn't opposed to that. It's still a little tricky, trying to navigate, your football, salary cap year, usually ends, kind of in December or early January if you're a playoff team. The fiscal year for most universities, or if not all universities, goes to, the middle of, or the end of June. So it's, that's a little disjointed trying to budget. I think it's easier for like a 2-semester sport like basketball to fit that into your budget and what you're doing. But I think anytime something's tricky, it gives you more of an advantage if you can figure it out and find a way to navigate it better. So we're still in the process of learning that and getting better with that. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.